Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we are opening a file that, on the surface, it looks like a pretty standard biography of a ballet director.
Right.
But once you start peeling back the layers, the articles, the timelines, the reviews, you realize what we're actually looking at is a masterclass in change management.
It really is. I mean, it's a story about disruption in a field that is, well, notorious for resisting change.
We're talking about Ernest Watkin.
Yeah.
Now, for the balletomes in our audience, that name is probably front and center right now.
Oh, for sure.
Because he recently took one of the biggest jobs in the dance, World Artistic Director of the English National Ballet,
Right.
the ENB.
Which is a massive seat to fill. He succeeded Tamara Rojo in 2023, and she was an absolute titan in that role.
A total titan.
Yeah, she really put ENB on the map globally. So following her is, it's not for the faint of heart.
But what hooked me when I was reading through the research wasn't just the promotion, it's the path he took to get there. We're talking about a guy from a tiny town in British Columbia who didn't just climb the corporate ladder of the arts. He effectively set the ladder on fire and, built a new one from scratch.
That's a pretty fair characterization. It's definitely not a linear path.
No. We're going to look at his nomad years across Europe, his apprenticeship under some of the wildest geniuses in choreography, and specifically his time in Germany.
Ah, Dresden.
There's an event in Dresden, we'll call it the Dresden Purge, that is honestly shocking. I had to reread that part of the notes twice.
It's the kind of move that either makes you a legend or gets you blacklisted from the industry forever. It was a massive, massive gamble.
Exactly. So, our mission today is to track how this Canadian kid became the architect of modern European ballet and what his return to London means. Because if you're a learner, someone curious about how people get to the top of their fields, this is a roadmap for bold leadership.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
We have to start in Duncan, British Columbia. The sources put his birth year around 1969 or 1970. Now, I've looked at Duncan on a map. It is beautiful. It's on Vancouver Island, lots of totem poles. But it is not exactly the center of the cultural universe.
No, it's a small community. But this is where that whole prodigy narrative kicks in. And it kicks in early.
Right.
You see, in the ballet world, if you want to make it, you have to leave home young. And by 1983, Watkin is not in Duncan anymore. He's in Toronto at Canada's National Ballet School.
And for those who don't follow dance training hierarchies, where does that school sit? Is it like a state university, or are we talking Ivy League?
Oh, it's Ivy League.
Yeah.
Top tier. It is one of the very few schools in North America that feeds directly into a world-class company.
Wow.
But just getting in isn't the story. The story is what happened when he graduated in 1988. The sources flag this one achievement, the Eric Brune Memorial Award.
I saw this in the notes. He was the first ever recipient.
The very first. And we really need to pause on the name Eric Brune, because unless you're a historian, that name might not mean much today. But in the mid-20th century, Eric Brune was a Danish superstar. He was famous for absolute technical perfection, nobility, elegance. He was the dancer noble standard. Think of him as the Roger Federer of ballet, effortless, precise, perfect.
So if they create an award in his name,
It's a massive signal. It means the judges aren't just looking for potential or, athleticism. They are looking for technical flawlessness. For Watkin to win the inaugural award meant the industry was saying, this kid is the next standard bearer. He was being anointed.
that is a lot of pressure for an 18-year-old.
Huge.
So you win the award, you join the National Ballet of Canada in 1988. He's on the home team. He's got the accolades. And any other career, you'd stay there, right? You'd ride that way for 20 years.
You would think so. In a traditional career arc, you stay, you rise through the ranks, become a principal dancer, retire at 40 with a nice pension. But Watkin does something strange. He leaves.
2 years in, he just takes off.
At age 20, he packs his bags and heads to Europe. This kicks off what the sources call his nomad years. And this is so crucial because if he had stayed in Canada, he would have been a great dancer, probably a star, but he likely wouldn't have become the leader he is today. He needed to see the world.
Okay, let's look at this itinerary because it's frantic. He goes to the English National Ballet Foreshadowing Alert for 2 seasons.
Yep.
Then the Dutch National Ballet, then the Frankfurt Ballet, then the Spanish National Dance Company.
It reads like a travel brochure, but artistically, it's a deliberate accumulation of, conflicting data.
How so? Because to me, it just looks like he's jumping from job to job.
Well, look at the styles. English National Ballet and Dutch National Ballet at that time were heavily rooted in the classical tradition.
Oh.
We're talking Tudus, Tchaikovsky, strict hierarchy, very vertical, very rigid. It's all about preserving history.
Okay, so that's the foundation. That matches his training.
Right, but then he pivots to Frankfurt and Spain. In Frankfurt, you have William Forsythe. In Spain, you have Nacho Duado. These aren't just different companies, they're on a different planet artistically.
Let's define that difference for the listener who hasn't seen a Forsythe ballet. What is Watkin doing in Frankfurt that he wasn't doing in Toronto?
Okay, so picture a classical ballet like Sleeping Beauty. It's all about illusions of weightlessness,
Right.
straight lines, perfect balance.
Right.
In Frankfurt, under Forsythe, he's doing the opposite. Forsythe is about being off balance. It's about extreme extension, stretching the limbs further than they should go. It's athletic, it's fast, it deconstructs all the rules. It's incredibly intellectually demanding.
And Nacho Duado in Spain.
More earthy, grounded, very contemporary. It's heavy. So by the time Watkin is done dancing, his body is essentially a hybrid database.
Ah.
He understands the strict discipline of the classics, he knows how to be a prince, but he also knows how to break those rules in the way the avant-garde demands.
That versatility seems to be the central theme here. He's not a specialist. He's a generalist in the highest sense. He speaks all the languages of dance.
Exactly. And that sets him up for the next phase. Because around 2002, the dancing stops, he retires from the stage, and the visionary phase begins.
He becomes the associate artistic director at Victor Ulate Ballet in Spain. But the source material highlights a specific role that I think is the real turning point.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes William Forsythe's choreographic assistant.
This is a huge deal. It sounds like a secondary role, but in the dance world, it's a position of immense power and trust.
Why? Is it just prestige, or is there a skill transfer happening?
It's deep skill transfer. Being Forsythe's assistant doesn't mean you're managing his calendar or grabbing his lunch.
Right.
It means you are the keeper of the source code. Forsythe's ballets are incredibly complex. They're mathematical, high velocity, and often improvised within a structure.
Hard to memorize, I assume.
Nearly impossible. To be the assistant means you have to know every step, every count, and the intention behind every movement for every dancer on stage. Watkin wasn't just watching, he was dissecting the genius.
So he could teach it.
He had to be able to teach it to others when Forsythe wasn't in the room.
And the sources say he took this on the road.
Right. He went to the Kirov, which is now the Mariinsky in Russia, and the Paris Opera Ballet to stage Forsythe's work.
Pause there. The Kirov and Paris Opera are, they're the Vatican and Mecca of classical ballet.
Absolutely.
These are institutions that have done things the same way for hundreds of years. They protect tradition with a capital T.
Correct. They are the fortresses of the old world.
So you have Watkin, this guy from Duncan, BC, walking into the Kirov to tell Russian dancers how to move. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
You can just imagine the skepticism. Who is this Canadian guy?
Yeah.
But this is where his background paid off. Because he had that classical training, the Eric Brun Award, he spoke their language. He could respect their tradition while pushing them into this new, jagged Forsythe style. He was the bridge.
That ability to bridge the gap, to speak old world and new world, that seems to be the asset that got him his big break.
It was the prerequisite. Which brings us to 2006, Dresden, Germany.
The Dresden Semperoper Ballet. Now, looking at the context, this wasn't a world-famous company at the time, was it?
It was respectable. It had a long history. Dresden's a cultural hub, but it was a sleeping beauty, if you'll pardon the pun.
Okay.
A traditional German opera house ballet company. Good, but not making global headlines. A bit dusty.
And Watkin gets the keys. How?
It's a classic who-you-know moment, but, backed by competence. The general director, Gerd Uecker, wanted to shake things up. He didn't want just another classical season, so he asked William Forsythe, who can do this? Who can bring us into the 21st century?
Forsythe says, take my guy.
Essentially,
Yeah.
recommended Watkin.
So Watkin walks in, 2006. He's the artistic director. He has a mandate to modernize. Now, usually, when a new boss comes in, there's a transition period. You tweak a few things, you hire a new marketing person.
Right.
Watkin did not do that.
No. He chose a much more aggressive path.
That's putting it mildly.
He executed what we have to call the Dresden Revolution to get the kind of repertoire he wanted, where dancers could do Swan Lake one night and a hyper-modern piece the next. He looked at the existing company and realized, this team can't do it.
And this is the part that made my jaw drop. The number in the sources is 25.
Yes.
He let go of 25 dancers.
That was half the company.
I want the listener to just sit with that for a second. Imagine walking into your office on Monday, and the new CEO fires 50% of the staff because they don't fit the new vision.
It's incredibly risky.
It's unbelievable.
It's high risk, high trauma. And we have to remember, in the German theater system, job security is usually quite strong.
Right.
For him to do that required immense political capital and a spine of steel. He was betting his entire reputation that the new company would be so good that people would forgive the bloodletting.
It raises a real leadership question. Can you achieve radical transformation without radical personnel changes?
Watkin clearly believed the answer was no. He needed crossover dancers. He didn't just need bodies. He needed dancers who looked good in a tutu, but who could also roll on the floor, improvise, and handle complex rhythms. The existing troupe was likely too specialized in the old ways.
So he clears the deck. He takes the heat. Who did he bring in?
He recruited from all over Europe. He built a United Nations of dance. And crucially, he didn't just hire dancers, he hired creators. He appointed David Dawson as the resident choreographer.
Dawson is a big name in the contemporary world.
Huge. That signaled to the world, we are making new things here. Then he went on a shopping spree for repertoire. He brought in works by Gigi Kilian, Mats Ek, Alexander Ekman, Steinsellis.
These are the heavy hitters of European modern dance. If you have those names on your poster, people pay attention.
They are the A-list, but, and this is the genius part and why he survived the purge, he didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. He kept the heritage.
The sources list Balanchine, Martha Graham, Pina Bausch, and he didn't just buy the rights to The Nutcracker or Sleeping Beauty.
No, he staged his own version.
Right.
And that's the balance. If he had turned Dresden into just a modern dance troupe, he would have alienated the local audience who loves the classics. They want their tutus at Christmas. By staging his own Swan Lake, he reassured them, I respect tradition. I love it. I'm just expanding what this company can be.
It's like the Apple strategy. You keep the core products everyone loves, but you introduce the iPhone to change the game.
Exactly. And the result was that for 17 years, Dresden became a powerhouse. It went from a regional company to a destination. People traveled to Dresden specifically to see this company because they were the only ones who could do everything at a world-class level.
He proved the model worked. Which brings us to the present day, the full circle moment.
August 2022. The announcement drops.
Aaron S. Watkin is named the next artistic director of the English National Ballet.
He's coming home. Well, his second home.
He danced there in his early 20s,
Yeah.
right? During those nomad years.
Yeah.
Now, 30 years later, he's the boss.
It's a poetic narrative, sure, but it's also a really strategic hire by the ENB.
Why? What does ENB need from him? Why not hire someone already in London?
Well, the English National Ballet is a unique beast. It's not the Royal Ballet, which is the government-funded giant at Covent Garden. The Royal is the establishment. ENB is a touring company. It was founded to bring ballet to the people. It has to be commercially viable. It has to sell tickets in Manchester, in Liverpool, not just London.
So they can't just do weird, avant-garde, experimental stuff that nobody watches. They need hits.
Exactly. But they also can't be boring, or they become a museum piece. Tamara Rojo did an amazing job of making them relevant and edgy. Watkin has to sustain that. And he has the track record of balancing commercial hits with artistic credibility.
The timeline here is interesting. He was announced in August 2022, but didn't officially take over until August 2023. But the sources say he announced his first season back in March of 2023.
Right. That designate period is awkward but necessary. You have 1 foot in Dresden, wrapping up 17 years of your life, saying goodbyes, and 1 foot in London, planning the future.
So he hit the ground running.
Oh, yeah. He was curating the season before he even had the key to the office.
So let's zoom out. We've gone from the boy in Duncan, BC, winning the Eric Bruhn Award, to the nomad learning from Forsyth, to the butcher of Dresden,
Harsh but fair.
to the seasoned leader in London.
Yeah.
When you look at this whole trajectory, what is the core lesson here for the listener?
I think it's about the concept of the hybrid leader.
Unpack that.
In many fields, not just the arts, people tend to polarize. You're either a traditionalist, someone who protects the way things have always been done, or you are a disruptor, someone who wants to blow it all up.
Right.
Watkin proves you can, and maybe you must be both.
He protected the technique, the Eric Bruhn legacy, but blew up the rigid structures with the Dresden Purge.
Precisely. He used the credibility he earned from the classics to buy the freedom to do the modern work. If he hadn't staged a great Swan Lake in Dresden, they never would have let him do the Forsyth pieces. He understands that innovation requires a foundation. You earn the right to disrupt.
It's leverage. You build trust with the old stuff so you can sell the new stuff.
It is. And the other takeaway is just courage. The Dresden move proves that sometimes incremental change isn't enough. If the structure is wrong for the vision, you have to be willing to break the structure, even if it makes you unpopular.
In the short term.
Exactly. He risked his career on that vision, and it paid off.
That brings me to my final thought, and it's a question for you, the listener, and something I'm going to be thinking about. Watkin spent 17 years in Dresden, a place where he had total control. He built that team. He was the king of that castle.
He was the benevolent dictator, yeah.
Now he's in London. The English National Ballet is a much bigger ship.
Yeah.
The British press is, let's say, more vigilant. The unions are stronger. The public scrutiny is higher. He can't just fire half the company in London. That would not fly.
No, it's a completely different game. The politics are harder.
So does the outsider perspective he honed in Germany, that ruthlessness and that clarity of vision, make him the perfect person to push E&B forward? Or will he find that the tactics that worked in a German opera house just don't translate to the UK scene?
That is the question. In Dresden, he was the radical import. In London, he's part of the establishment now. How he navigates that shift from revolutionary to guardian is going to be the real test.
Can a disruptor survive inside the establishment? We're going to be watching the EMB very closely over the next few seasons to find out.
I wouldn't bet against him.
Neither would I. That's it for this deep dive into the career of Aaron S. Watkin. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.